Hello everyone and welcome to Joys That Flies. In today's tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to sew the perfect autumn skirt. It's a really quick project to make, it's very simple and you can adapt the pattern to however you like. So just two quick notes before we get started. In this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to make the pattern from scratch. So it's your own paper pattern and that means you don't need to buy any patterns and you don't need to download any PDF files. Also, this skirt is a wrap design, so that means you don't have to be sewing any zips. All you need is a couple of buttons and snap fasteners for the skirt. So without further ado, let's get to the pattern. So here is a quick list of things that you will need. Any dressmaking fabric of your choice, approximately 2 to 3 meters. Obviously this will depend on the length you have your skirt and what size it is. And then some interfacing, preferably medium. You won't need much because it's only for the waistband. And then you'll need your general sewing equipment, including 2 snap fasteners and then 1 to 2 or 3 buttons, one to actually hold the skirt, and then I use the other one just as some decoration. Then you'll also need either your sewing machine or an overlocker. So the last thing on the list is drawing and measuring equipment. So that includes enough paper for the pattern, your measuring tape, pencils, pens, everything of that sort. I also use my pattern master for this, for the curved edges and things like that. If you don't have one of these, you can use anything with a round edge like a plate or anything like that. Now here is just a quick little tip from me. Pattern paper is quite expensive and when you're making your own clothes you go through quite a lot. So what I do is I buy a great big roll of plain wallpaper. It's a lot cheaper and you get loads of it. I've also seen people use old wrapping paper and things like that. So if you are planning on starting making loads of your own patterns, then I'd highly suggest either of those two options. Before we get drawing the pattern, you're just going to want to take 3 measurements. Your waist, your hip measurement, and the length you would like your skirt to be. Now take your pattern paper and draw a line measuring the length of your skirt. Make sure you have enough room on one side for the pattern and then a bit extra on the other side. So this is starting off the pattern piece for the back of your skirt, and you're going to want to now quarter your waist measurement because the pattern piece will be half of the back of the skirt. And so from the top of the line you just drew, you're going to want to draw this new measurement. And then from your waist measurement, measure 9 inches down. And then you're going to want to do the same thing as you did with your waist measurement, which is quarter your hip measurement and then draw that new measurement at that 9-inch mark we just made. And now for the bottom of your skirt, I like to do my hip measurement but then add on about 1 inch for extra shape. And then just connect the 3 ends of your lines up. So as you can see, the side of the skirt is at a very harsh angle, and so this is where your pattern master or anything with a curved edge comes in. So this part is kind of just doing it by eye. So I come down slightly at the waist, and then for the hip I make it a nice curve because that's how naturally people's bodies are. As you can see, it always takes me a few goes to get it right, so I just outlined my finish line with a darker pen so you could actually see what the shape is. So now it's time for the darts, and 3 inches from your side make a mark, and that is where the centre of your dart is going to be. So for skirts and trousers, the back darts are normally longer than the front ones, and so I generally use a standard measurement, which is what I'm going to show you in this tutorial. But if you want a different sort of shape to the skirt, then you can adjust them how you like. So from that 3-inch mark, draw a vertical line of 5 inches, and then on either side of that line, mark ½ an inch. And then connect those 2 marks with the bottom of the line. But When we sew that dart, we're going to be taking a whole inch away from the waist measurement. So we've got to add an extra inch on to the entire waist. So from that straight line we drew at the beginning, add on 1 inch. And then the last thing to do is to add 1/4 inch seam allowance around all of the edges apart from the straight side that we drew at the beginning. Now it's always a good idea to label your patterns for future reference, so just write down on this one that it's the wrap skirt, this is the back piece, and you're going to want to cut 1 on the fold. And that straight edge is the fold, so just label that as well. And now you can cut it out. Now it's time to create the front pattern piece. To do this we're going to be using our back pattern piece, so place it down on your pattern paper and then trace around it. Now we're going to be drafting the wrap part of the skirt, so here is where personal preference comes into it. As you can see in this one I'm wearing, I have it about 3/4 of the way across, which means that that waist measurement we quoted at the beginning, I then take 2.5 inches off of that. Now you can adjust that how you like and decide how you like it, but just remember to take how much you decide to have it across off from that waist measurement. Then once you've decided on your measurement, add it to the straight side of your pattern. Now it's just time to add the dart, so 3 inches from the side, mark the centre of the dart. Then on either side of that mark, measure 1/2 inch like we did for the back one, but this dart is only going to be 3 inches in length. Then connect all the marks and you have your dart. Now just label your pattern, this is the front piece and you're going to want to cut 2. Then the last thing to do is cut it out. Now we're moving on to the waistband piece, and you're going to want to take your entire waist measurement and add 1/2 of your waist measurement to it. This will give you a bit of excess fabric, but that's fine, we can trim it down accurately later. Now so the pattern piece doesn't get too long, half that measurement and then draw a line of it down on your paper. Then turn it into a rectangle with the width of 3 inches. Once again, if you don't want your waistband this wide, you can adjust that measurement if you like. Now this includes seam allowance, so you can go and label it straight away as the wrap skirt. This is the waistband, and you'll want to cut 2 on the fold, and one of the shortest edges is the fold. Then the last thing to do is cut it out. I have suddenly just remembered that you're going to need to cut 2 on the fold of fabric and then 1 on the fold of interfacing, so just add that onto your pattern. Now the last pattern piece is the side facing, so draw a line measuring the length of your skirt. And now you're going to want to turn this into a rectangle with the width of 1.5 inches. Now this doesn't have a seam allowance around it, so you're going to want to add 1/4 inch seam allowance around the entire rectangle. Now just label this as your side facing, and you're going to want to cut 2. Then the last thing to do is cut it out. Now that we've made all of the pattern pieces, it's time to cut them all out of the fabric. And you can check all the pieces that you will need with the list shown on the screen. So the first thing to do is to attach your interfacing onto one of your waistband pieces, and then transfer your dart pattern onto the wrong side of your fabric. Then fold your dart right sides together and pin in place. Then sew down your dart. Iron your dart flat. Now repeat with your other darts. Place both of your front pieces right sides together with the back piece. Pin them both in place and then sew down the two sides. Iron and pin a 1/4 inch hem at the bottom of your skirt. And then baste it closed. Now it's time to use our side facings. So take it over to your iron and iron a 1/4 inch hem along one of the long edges. And then pin the raw edge right sides together with one of the sides of your skirt. Sew down your side facing, pivot at the bottom, and then sew across it just above your hem. I forgot to mention this before, but when you sew it, make sure the hem on the facing is still folded over. Clip the corner and then turn it right sides out. Now iron the facing to the back of the skirt and pin in place. Then over sew down it. You will now be able to notice that the way we sewed it has created a double hem on the bottom of the skirt. And then you can repeat all of that with your other facing and the second side of your skirt. Now you can iron and hem the double hem which your facing created at the bottom of the skirt, and then sew it closed. Take one of your waistband pieces and iron a 1/4 inch hem on one of the longest sides. Then baste it closed. Then pin it right sides together with your other waistband piece and sew down the longest edge. You can then iron them wrong sides together. Pin the raw edge of the waistband right sides together with the waist of your skirt. Trim any excess fabric on the waistband, but leave at least a 1/4 inch overhanging on either side. Then sew down the waistband. Once you finish sewing, iron the seam up towards the waistband. Fold the waistband in half right sides together and sew down the shortest edge. Clip the corners, turn it right sides out, and then repeat with the other side. Now pin the rest of your waistband together, covering any raw edges on the inside. But make sure you pin from the right side of the fabric, because we're going to be over sewing it in a minute. And then once you're happy with it, you can over sew down the waistband. Try your skirt on and make a small mark on the outside where the buttonhole and button will be, and then on the inside where the two snap fasteners will be. Carefully sew your buttonhole and then sew your button and your snap.